Hello, my people. Welcome, or shall I say welcome back to the Aquilani History Podcast. Thanks for joining me on this journey of discovering our wonderful and amazing stories together. And thank you once again to everyone, wherever you're listening from, for all your support, your messages, your follows, your likes, your comments, feedbacks, just checking in with me generally. Superhuman and your wonderful family. I see you, Auntie Fadike and Uncle Yinka, Olamide from Northampton, Snow Queen, thanks for your lovely comments. Birthvi, Serpi, Nitya, my day one crew, Teresa. When your big shot consultant tells you that they listen to your podcast, you know you have made it in life. Apologies for the quality from the last episode, like the intro and the outro. I had a bit of a cold. Sorry, I'm always surrounded by sick people, so there's consequently a cloud of bugs following me everywhere I go. Plus, I have a 6-year-old at home who brings back lots of lovely gifts from school. Alas, I'm stricken often. It sounds like I'm talking about love rather than bugs. Maybe I love you guys. Maybe I love you so much because, you've got an amazing smile and you've got the loveliest eyes and you've got like that 1 million watt smile and lovely home-like heart. What's not to love about you? Anyways, before we start making Google eyes at each other, let's get into the business of the day. So this episode is the second in the series of the history of Lagos. It's called We Three Kings. We Three Kings of Orienta. No, not like that. It's called We Three Kings anyways. And part one was all about how Lagos started off from nothing really. It was basically a pepper farm and it became a regional power, although via very quite dark and inhumane means because its major source of income was slave trade. And in the next episode, or the episode we're going to be listening to now, it gets interesting. There's going to be lots of drama. Routes for future conflicts will be established. There'll be some complex alliances going on. Everyone is just collecting gas bills, water, up and down, carnage and chaos, and just premium goblin behavior. I won't say any more. Let's dive in and discover this together. So, for a quick recap, the background of Lagos so far: some folks, their worries, migrate down to an uninhabited island to get some business and ruling going, are conquered by the powerful Benin Empire. An exiled prince makes some shady contacts and starts selling people. They outgo and outmaneuver their competitors and then get an endless supply of slaves due to a century-long explosion of violence in the Yoruba hinterland. The final major player in this saga makes an entrance here. So, the British Empire was finally coming around to the idea that slavery was bad. This is after a couple of centuries of profiting from it. Anyways, by 1807, the Slave Trade Act was passed in British Parliament, which outlawed the trade in slaves, but not slavery itself. That law would not pass until 1833 and deferred the complete emancipation of slaves or enslaved people till as late as 1840. This would translate in 1841 to increased pressure on European countries that eventually led to the Treaty for Suppression of African Slave Trade signed by Austria, France, UK, Prussia and Russia. This basically gave them the rights to search any ship suspected of carrying slaves and to treat such vessels as pirates. Again, I am getting way ahead of myself. We must return our attention to 1807 and to our beloved Lagos, which is by now a regional power and not doing badly at all. So the king, remember, is Ologun Kotere, the same king that commissioned the powerful gunboat navy. He had many wives who bore him many sons, but we are concerned with 3. The first son was from an Ijebu mother and his name was Oshinloku. The second was Adile, born to a Badagry woman, and the third was Akitoye, whose mother was an Owu woman that would eventually come to settle in Abeokuta. By right of primogeniture, according to Bini and Lagos traditions, Oshinloku, the first son, should have been king upon the death of his father. However, Adile, the second and favourite son, a savvy, charismatic and intelligent fellow, had been working in the background. He'd been receiving ambassadors and transacting business on behalf of his father. He had befriended a great many chiefs with lavish gifts and had the allegiance of his father's slaves. Thus, when their father died, the kingmakers overlooked the elder brother and installed Adele, the second son, as the king. Understandably, this did not sit well with Oshinloku, who by law should have been king, and this was the beginning of a long and bitter family struggle. Oshinloku and his band were defeated, and he was exiled to Ijebu, the home of his mother. Adele's reign soon started to drift into troubled waters when some chiefs became upset with his religious tolerance of his Muslim slaves and of the Egungun cult. It also did not help that the expanding household of Hausa slaves was starting to cut into the profit of his chiefs. So the chiefs conspired to invite his brother Oshinloku back to Lagos, and with the help of his Ijebu relatives were able to defeat Adele in the return fixture. This was in the 1820s. It was now Adele's time to go into exile, and predictably, he chose to go to Badagry, the home of his mother. He carried the head of his father with him, as well as his aged mother, in a specially constructed human-borne carriage. This seemed to impress the superstitious Badagrians, who not only accepted him, but in short time made him their chief. And obviously his mother's relatives' influence helped more than a little bit. So we have the situation where there was a king in Lagos and another king in Badagry, which was supposed to be subject to Lagos. This made Oshinloku and Lagos so uneasy that they aligned themselves with Porto-Novo and Dahomey. And these nations were the traditional rivals of Lagos. If you recall, it has been Lagos' strategy to disrupt and antagonize them previously. Together, that is, Lagos, Porto-Novo and Dahomey mounted a fierce and terrible attack on Badagry. The battle lasted 3 days, but Adele and Badagry managed to hold out with the help of his faithful general, Bombani. The discerning Adele knew that he would probably not withstand another attack, so he began to look quickly for allies. He began to pay tribute to the only other power around who was not yet hostile to him, that was Oyo. As soon as he began paying tribute to Oyo, Oyo diverted her slaves to be sold at Badagry rather than Porto-Novo. With this new influx of revenue from slaves, Adele was able to build up his Badagry navy to such strength that he was able to start picking off towns loyal to Lagos but close to Badagry. He harassed the Porto-Novians in a protracted series of raids until they sued for peace, thereby securing his western flank. He had in a few short years built up Badagry to be a power in itself and had secured an important ally in Oyo. His ever-calculating mind was now eyeing Lagos itself for size. By 1825, the British were ramping up their efforts against slave trade and had begun actively patrolling the slave coast of West Africa to put an end to the trade and to encourage alternate legitimate trade. Adele knew he wasn't strong enough to take on Lagos just yet, and he began to consider courting the British to aid his cause. He was even willing to put an end to his slave trading to secure their friendship, and had in fact started cleaning up his dirty slave money by investing in palm oil. The British were not interested at this time. Never one to give up easily, Adele tried to reach out to Benin, his previous overlords. He sent messengers through Oyo to Benin, but the fate of the messengers were never known, for at this time the catastrophic Yoruba civil war had broken out in the hinterland, and the message never reached Benin. Out of options and out of luck, Adele sat on the shores of Badagry, scheming and dreaming, but not quite knowing how to break this stalemate. It would seem the gods like a bit of drama, and fate decided to break this peaceful stalemate when Adele's brother in Lagos, King Oshinloku, decided to spice things up a bit by dying in 1829. Adele expected to be recalled as king, especially as Oshinloku's two sons, Idewu Ojulari and Kosoko, were only young men. The kingmakers in Lagos decided it would be wiser to maintain the status quo of a peaceful stalemate rather than risk inviting Adele back to upset the already strained balance of power. Thus, Idewu Ojulari, the elder of Oshinloku's sons, was crowned the new king in Lagos. Adele nevertheless saw this as an opportunity, even though his forces were nowhere close to Lagos's and he had no allies to go into battle with him, because Oyo was a bit preoccupied and actually disintegrating at this time with the hinterland wars. Adele decided he would attack. Lagos, after all, was being ruled by an inexperienced lad. He had his war canoes, and he had his men with the latest guns and his indefatigable general, Bombani. So down the creek his war canoes went, landing his men on the Lagos island in their hundreds. But they were met by well-entrenched and well-positioned forces, for Lagos too had its war canoes, and the latest guns and cannons only several times more. Adelai's army's defeat was nothing short of a disaster. His ever-faithful and much-beloved General Bombani was captured. His fate was particularly cruel and unusual. His left arm was pulled from his body like a twig, his right hand nailed to his head. This way was he paraded around the town before being finally beheaded. The year was 1830, and with that defeat and the loss of his general, as well as the loss of his only ally, for Oyo had disintegrated by this time, Adelai fell into a deep depression. There was no way back now, surely, right? This must be the end of the road. On paper, it should have been, and for anyone else, it would have been the end. But this was a man used to getting up after being knocked down, and fate was about to conspire again in his favour.
Oh, wow. I am intrigued. I don't know about you. And this is me who's been editing, researching, producing. The story still gets to me each time. So much glass bills like I promised. The man them aren't playing anymore. It's a dangerous thing now. Some really inventive kinds of cruelty that I've seen so far. Anyways, I can't wait to get to the third episode with you. It's going to be called The Rage of Love, and it will be quite dark, so buckle up. There's going to be a love triangle in there somewhere as well. There's going to be like more conflicts. It's going to have everything. I can't wait to release it. It should come out within the week, so stay tuned. Thanks for keeping me company. I appreciate it very much. As always, your support is appreciated. Please like, please follow, please leave comments, engage with the podcast in whatever way that you can. Yeah, I know I'm getting really clingy. I'm a gummy and clingy podcaster like that. And sorry, not sorry. I'm sure you like it as well, so let's not complain about it. Anyways, thank you so much for being here with me, and look forward to seeing you in a few days. Have a lovely week, everyone. Stay well. See you soon. Love you. Bye.